It doesn't matter what your name is.
You just made the list!
Rest in peace.
Tell me, he didn't just say that.
Brother, bro, brothers, bro, brothers, brother, brothers, brother, 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 brother.
You are not ready for.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line, cause Stone Cold said so.
All you have to do is believe!
So for the benefit of those with flash photography,
Brother, 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 brothers, brother.
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for ya!
You're fired.
Woo, 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 woo!
Brother, 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 brothers, brother. If you smell.
Oh yeah! Yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, there's only one word to describe you.
Brother, 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 brother.
Hello again. Welcome to Hidden Gem Hunters. Another week, another show to review as we search once again for wrestling's hidden gems, forgotten classics. We review a different pay-per-view randomly chosen each and every week to try and find those classic matches that are no longer talked about. This week, we took a look at Halloween Havoc 1989. So, my co-host, Mr. Peter Nixon, firstly, how's your week? And secondly, did you enjoy Halloween Havoc 89?
Dun 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 dun. Come on, man, you know this.
I'm sure I do. I think it's just your... Yeah, I think it's just your versions of things throw me off completely.
Come on. Dun, 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 dun. How can you not get that? They were on this
Maybe
show.
Maybe it's just been a long day. Yeah, you forget. You forget. Just to give people an insight, we've been a little bit behind schedule. So I watched this show 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Go on.
It was the Freebirds. Bad Street USA.
Okay. I'll accept defeat on.
You asked me how my week was.
Yes.
It was all right. Yeah, it was all right. It was very busy with work. We just did the Strawberry Fair. We ran 3 bars over on Midsummer Common, which was pretty hectic and long days. But yeah, it's been good. How's your week been?
Yeah, not bad. Obviously, still sorting out the new house. And decorating and things. So yeah, it's been good. The pluses really are that I'm here on my own at the minute, meaning there's plenty of time to watch some wrestling when I get done of an evening. But looking forward to getting everything moved in properly. Yeah. But yeah, it's been an all right week.
Good.
To answer my second question, sir, on the whole, how did you find Halloween Havoc 89?
Well, when I look back at the scores that I gave and read back my notes, it was a decent show, but I found it hard to get through at times. I mean, the action in the matches was okay, it was decent. But when you look at the presentation as a whole, it lacked flamboyance, didn't it?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. yeah, there was a few matches there that really sort of dragged this show for me. But before we get into it in too much detail, we had a TV match this week. We had a TV match to watch, which was Triple H against Rikishi from SmackDown, January 6th, 2000, WWF SmackDown episode. You watched this one?
I did. Yeah, I enjoyed it. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've always been a big Rikishi fan. I'm the one, and you refer to my odd tastes in certain gimmicks.
Yeah.
I'm the one person who was a fan of the Sultan.
You were the one.
I was the one.
Why?
Yeah.
Why? Just why?
I just thought it was cool. You got to remember at this point I was about 10. You know, certain things make an impact on you when you're young. And I enjoyed the Sultan. And that's what made me a fan of Rikishi. I first became a fan of the Sultan. But this for me showed just how over Rikishi was at the time.
Oh, massively.
The
I
crowd.
I need to point out that we're the same age. So I watched Survivor Series '96. I got it on video. So shortly after the pay-per-view aired, I bought the video when it came out. And I loved it. It's one of my favorite shows growing up. Pardon me. Bret Hart and Steve Austin from that show was one of my favorite matches of all time. I prefer it to the submission match. Having said that, I loved the head shrinkers. I loved Rikishi, but the Sultan just didn't do it for me.
That's fair. I did. I read once about the Sultan that the gimmick was originally supposed to be Sabu.
Oh, okay.
The gimmick was meant to be Sabu as the Sultan, and then when he turned it down because he was meant to sign with the WWF at the time, and then they gave him the gimmick and he turned down the gimmick, which is what meant he didn't sign, and so they gave it to Rikishi instead. And it's mad to think that we would have got like Sabu against The Rock. And those kind of matches.
That was a WrestleMania match, wasn't it? The Rock versus the Sultan.
Yeah, and how different it would have turned out, and whether or not it would have worked with someone else under that gimmick, because it was completely different workers. But we're not here to talk about the Sultan.
Are we not?
To talk about Triple H and Rikishi. The crowd just made this, right?
Oh, totally. You mentioned Rikishi, so over, considering that Rikishi and Too Cool had debuted this new gimmick like 2 months previously.
Yeah.
Already huge over. And this was January 6, 2000. I think Rikishi debuted the new gimmick in November. I think he was on Survivor Series. Too Cool definitely were. But yeah, I couldn't believe how over they were, considering the gimmick had just debuted.
Yeah, it's crazy to see, really. And this, to me, put Rikishi on that top level.
Yeah.
It was believable at every single point. I'm sure that had I watched this at the time with the age that I would have been, I would have thought Rikishi could have won.
Yeah.
I think that the main thing that hurt this match was the finish.
Yeah,
but
totally.
it was a TV finish for the time.
Yeah.
And I actually think that is something that's going to hurt a lot of the TV matches that we review. Is some of the finishes.
It already
you don't
has, hasn't it?
get these. Yeah.
RVD and Shawn Michaels was hurt by the finish. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're gonna find that quite a bit because while the finish makes sense from a TV point of view, it's quite often that you don't get those clean finishes in the big matches unless it's on pay-per-view. So maybe that we see a pattern emerging. We already kind of are. But this was really good. Really, really good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I even didn't get too annoyed with Stephanie on commentary. Because she can grate on you a little bit. So I enjoyed this, but would you consider this a hidden gem?
I have one massive negative about this match, and I need to preface it with a story, if I may, if you'll indulge.
Yeah, I will indulge you, sir.
Yeah. I'm going to break kayfabe here a little bit, but I'm no longer a wrestler, so fuck it. We were doing the World Cup gimmick at WAW, and I had just wrestled and beat PJ Knight. This was a WAW in Cossie, one of their academy shows. I got backstage and Zach said, "Ricky can't make it. I need you to go on with Kendo for the main event." And we were up next. So we had zero time to plan anything. I just got told, "Sam, you're over. You and Kendo go and do it." And me and Kendo had wrestled a few times before. We knew each other's stuff, so that was fine. But mid-match, Kendo called the Kendo bomb, which was the Vader bomb. That's Kendo's finish. And I knew I was going over, and I thought, well, I can't kick out of his finish. What am I going to do? So when Kendo hit the Kendo bomb, I bounced my leg onto the rope. So it looked like I got lucky. And I'm telling you this story because why did Triple H have to kick out of the Banzai?
I knew it. The moment you said about because of the Vader bomb, Kendo bomb being in the corner and with the positioning of it, straight away I knew what you meant, because the Banzai drop with Rikishi or Yokozuna or whatever, you shouldn't be able to get your shoulder up from underneath their ass. Essentially, you wouldn't. They have to help you do that.
Yeah.
Essentially, I completely agree.
Okay. Yeah, that is my only negative of the match. One thing I loved after the finish, whilst Rikishi and Too Cool are doing the dance in the ring, Triple H and Stephanie are still on the ramp watching, and they're irate. They're going mad. They get really frustrated, and Rikishi and Too Cool are
taking the spotlight.
Yeah, I thought that was tremendous and a great way to end SmackDown.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Because even in, let's say you say defeat, he didn't win the championship, but Rikishi looks no less of a star at the end of the show and end of the night by doing that. And it is something that they could have easily come back to, again, because Triple H wasn't a decisive title defense,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they did. Excuse me, I'm just opening a can. Apologies for any noise.
Whoop ass.
No, a can of Crumpton Oak cider.
Ew.
It's not ooh. It was cheap in the corner shop, and it's a pint can.
Okay.
Hard times.
Well, it's not Strongbow.
Oh no, no way.
Oh,
No way. So you wouldn't put Triple H and Rikishi on a hidden gem list?
Unfortunately not. As much as I enjoyed it, and it was, great Attitude Era content, because of that frustration with the finish and with the Banzai drop, not a hidden gem for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think this is maybe the closest I've come so far. with a TV match.
I would agree with you there.
Yeah, I would say that is pretty close. It is exactly what we're sort of looking for.
Yeah.
But again, the finish. Thoroughly enjoyed watching the match though.
Yeah.
And I liked the little story going in where it was a sort of a lottery on who was going to get the match with Triple H for the main event.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And it was billed as kind of the last person he'd want to go in the ring with would be Rikishi. So it really just helped put Rikishi over as a threat. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it, but does not go on a hidden gem list. So, will we find anything to go on a hidden gem list from WCW Halloween Havoc 1989? This event took place 28th of October 1989 at the Philadelphia Civic Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in front of 7,300 fans. And we kicked off this show with an opening contest between Z-Man, Tom Zenk, and the captain, Mike Rotunda, later known as IRS. This went 13 minutes and 23 seconds. And what did you think of our opening match?
There was some slick action, some slick chain wrestling at the start, but to be honest, the match was largely uninteresting. I never really got into Tom Zenk. I don't think he had any character. And the Captain Mike gimmick, I think he was still was the varsity club, right? At this point.
The varsity club had disbanded by this point, but
right.
Mike Rotunda had not really evolved from it yet. So he was sort of on the undercard, still kind of dressing the same, being presented pretty much the same, but the varsity club was kind of done at this point.
Yeah. But he was billed as Captain Mike.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't see any evidence of this new sailor gimmick.
No, I think that came a little bit later. I just think this was transitional, period in time, was definitely not a focus. Tom Zenk, clearly this was a match for Zenk. He just joined from the AWA at this point. So I thought Zenk was kind of solid, but just a bit bland.
Yeah, exactly.
Like probably the period of time I best enjoyed Zenk was he had a short run as a tag team with Brian Pillman.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They had some good matches with the Midnight Express and a few other notable teams of the time. But again, even watching that as a tag team, they were very good. But Pillman was the star. You could tell Pillman was the personality of that whole situation. I thought that this was a bit disappointing. I guess I just wanted a bit more action from an opening match, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the sort of crossbody roll through for the finish. That was okay. Mike Rotunda at this point was just there wasn't a lot of personality to share around in this match, was there?
No, exactly.
So I'm maybe a little bit harsh on this, but I gave it a 4.
I went with a 5, and I just need to say something about Mike Rotunda, and this is just a personal thing. Rotunda tweeted out a picture of himself doing a drop kick, and the caption was the best drop kick thrown wearing shirt, tie, and braces. And I say bollocks. I thought I had a lovely drop kick back in the day. And I would put mine up against Mike Rotunda's any day.
Yeah, well, what is it? Clothesline back elbow drop kick, right?
You got it, mate. House of fire.
It's almost like I've seen a few of your matches.
Right. I've seen 1 or 2.
Might have seen 1 or 2. Okay, so 4 and a 5. So not the best start to Halloween Havoc 1989. Then we rolled on to what was essentially quite a tag team heavy show. This we went with 6-man tag for the second match, which was the Samoan SWAT team and the Samoan Savage. So that was Samu Fatu, who later became Rikishi, who we've already discussed, and the Samoan Savage, also known as the Tonga Kid.
Exactly.
And they were against the Midnight Express duo of Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane, teaming with Dr. Death Steve Williams, accompanied by Jim Cornette. I didn't like the Midnight Express as baby faces, which is something that they were doing at this time.
I totally agree. I put in my notes, it's so weird seeing the Midnights as baby faces.
Yeah. So I understand it because it stemmed from the Midnight against the Midnight feud, where the original Midnight Express of Dennis Condrey and why has my mind gone blank?
Randy, someone?
Randy Rose?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Randy
too close
Rose.
to Brandy Rhodes, isn't it?
Yeah. So they came in from the AWA with Paulie Dangerously as their manager, and they ran that angle, and that kind of turned the Midnight Express to Jim Cornette babyface. But the problem was that feud fizzled out due to Dennis Condrey leaving and left them in the lurch ahead of the big pay-per-view match, where he was replaced on pay-per-view by Jack Victory for no real reason whatsoever. So but after that feud was done and the Midnight Express are left as babyfaces, it just didn't work. It worked in that feud because it gave them a reason to be cheered. It wasn't that they were doing anything differently. It's just, it gave them something to fight for that the fans could get behind. But then when you just have them as smiley baby faces, it didn't work at all.
No.
But the match was good. The crowd was really into this.
Yeah, it was a fun trios match, but it broke down at the end. I think it got a bit sloppy. I also put in my notes that Beautiful Bobby is an elite performer. One of the most underrated wrestlers ever.
I totally agree. Some of the sells on just some of the, just the chops and things early on. He took a chop and just sold right through the ropes and everything. He was just, like I say, a fantastic and underrated performer. I think one of the things that hurt this match, it went 18 minutes and 23 seconds. I think it just went too long. It got into sloppy territory. Whereas if this was shortened down, was a bit shorter, a bit punchier, and it would have worked a bit better. I did like this sort of diving, jumping kind of headbutt to the back. I kind of like that. I thought it was good. He sent Stan Lane into Jim Cornette and knocked him off the apron. Yeah, that was good. And the crowd were really into it, which always helps. But overall, I couldn't really, and I'm a fan of a lot of people in this match. Dr. Death, I've always been a fan of. Midnight Express as heels, massive fan of. And all the various different incarnations of the Samoans have always been through into their head shrinkers and beyond. Always been a fan of, but something just didn't click at me. It went too long. I could only give it a 5.
I went 5 as well. Can we agree that Dr. Death Steve Williams did his best work in Japan?
Yeah.
His stuff in WCW, the NWA, and certainly his stuff in the WWF, I never got into. Did you ever see his promo? The promo that he cut on the first ever Clash of the Champions?
I may have done, but it's not jumping to mind.
It is, without a doubt, one of the worst promos I have ever seen in my life.
Well, that's tonight's viewing sorted.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back and have a look at that.
Yeah, indeed. So I've never been a Doc fan really. But yeah, this match was fine, but certainly not outstanding. I think I said already I gave it a 5.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair for this one.
Mhm.
But it was, in my opinion, better than what we got next.
Oh, 100%.
So this was Wildfire Tommy Rich against the Cuban Assassin. Went 8 minutes 29 seconds, and this wasn't great, was it?
It was about 8 minutes and 20 seconds too long.
It's stealing my line with D'Lo and Midian.
I've put 2 words in my notes for this match.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I
Why?
didn't. I don't think we go on.
Yeah, why did this match need to be on a pay-per-view?
But it didn't.
Were they trying to rebuild Tommy Rich? I know he was the world champion for like a week in the 80s. But this is not Wildfire Tommy Rich. This is just a bloke.
Yeah.
This is a bloke that
No,
you might see down the pub.
Yeah, it didn't do anything for either man. I put down a few more notes, but not much. I don't want to spend too much time on this match because it wasn't very good. The crowd wasn't into it.
Nope.
They kind of, it was just boring. The match never got out of first gear. And Tommy Rich, I've seen better than this. But yeah, it was not a good night for either of them. I only gave it a 2.
I also went 2. I was toying with 1 for this, which would make it the first match to go on our Stay Forgotten list.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it was close to that, right?
Yeah, I just couldn't bring myself to put it on that list for some reason.
Yeah. I think again it was bad, but like again, there wasn't anything in the way of necessarily botching stuff or poor execution or things like that.
Exactly.
Or dangerous work and things,
Yeah.
but just really boring.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing offended me, but it was utterly pointless.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So that gets a 2, and while it doesn't go on our Stay Forgotten list, I won't be in a hurry to watch it again.
No.
Match number 4, the Fabulous Freebirds against the Dynamic Dudes for the World Tag Team Championships. Go on, I'll let you take this one.
How hated were the babyface team of the Dynamic Dudes?
It was amazing. But in Philadelphia, right? That's not the team to present as babyfaces in Philadelphia.
Right. I mean, the Freebirds had been villains forever, but they were huge babyfaces in this match. Just because the crowd hated the Dynamic Dudes. And they put the Dynamic Dudes with Jim Cornette to try and get them even slightly over, and it just didn't work. It came across as so insincere.
Yeah, and this is what led to the Midnights going heel again with Cornette, and then they had a very forgettable run of matches against the Dynamic Dudes.
Well, I didn't know it happened. That's how forgettable it was.
Yeah, I remember there being something. I remember hearing a story at some point where there was a match, I think maybe between Shane Douglas and Stan Lane.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a case of if Shane Douglas won, he got maybe 5 minutes with Cornette or something.
Right.
And apparently the match that took place between Jim Cornette and Shane Douglas was so bad that they never even bothered airing it.
Oh man, I'd like to see that.
And they never bothered airing the Stan Lane and Shane Douglas match either, because obviously they couldn't have aired that because the finish, people would wonder why they didn't get to see the other part. So none of it happened.
Oh.
From memory. The highlight of this match for me. So the dynamic dudes are shit. Excuse my French. The gimmick is so bad.
Yep.
Like, I don't know how you could ever think that people would cheer for them. They don't even ride their skateboards. You just don't believe that they are the people that they're portraying.
Exactly. It was insincere.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things was was Jim Ross trying to get this match over or get the dynamic dudes over. And you know me, I love a bit of Jim Ross.
Yeah.
And there's a few bits on this show that are hilarious. But he says something about how the dynamic dudes stayed in school and got their education first before entering pro wrestling. So kids stay in school.
Radical, dude.
Yeah, like stay in school, kids, and you could be more like this pair of helmets. Like, it's not going to inspire you just to follow in their footsteps, is it?
Indeed.
It came across because Shane Douglas is someone that was a charismatic guy, right?
Yeah.
But in this gimmick, it almost like it brought him down to Johnny Ace levels of charisma. It just kind of sucked. It just pulled him down because obviously it's a gimmick that wasn't him, right? So he's pretending, and they come across as pretend charismatic people, if that makes sense.
100%. They look like tryhards.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, sometimes they try and give people these gimmicks to try and make them more interesting than they can be on their own.
Yeah.
Shane Douglas is someone that, you know, had the ability to be, you know, good and interesting and charismatic and a good promo on his own. But in this, like you say, it's a try hard thing and a pretend charisma. I didn't think the finish was too bad. But other than that, I really didn't enjoy this.
Right. Okay. So you're right. Shane Douglas, when he broke out of WCW and went to ECW and became the franchise, he was a fantastic villain. He got fantastic heat. Johnny Ace really didn't do anything in wrestling. I know he had a run in Japan, but then he became an agent and a good finish.
All Japan, I think.
Yeah, he became a good finish guy as an agent, and then we had People Power in the sort of early 2010s, which is
what a time to be alive.
And he main evented a pay-per-view against John Cena, which was madness.
Amazing.
And we know how good the Freebirds are. This match, I thought there was some good action in this. I actually enjoyed some of Johnny Ace's action, some of his moments in the match. But you just can't get past the crowd reactions. Having said that, at least the crowd are reacting to this match, which they hadn't been doing throughout the evening up until this point. I know the crowd weren't reacting as management intended, but at least they're popping and, you know, showing interest. So I gave this match a 6.
I think that's generous.
No, I stand by it.
Yeah, I gave it a 4.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I really didn't enjoy it, and obviously we're watching these shows, and we watched Fully Loaded 99 recently, and Michael Hayes looked better in that. So I don't know what happened, but yeah, I didn't enjoy it. Yeah, so I stick by that, a 4. Push a high 4, but I couldn't give it a 5.
Well, I like Hayes, I like Garvin, I like Cornette, I like Shane Douglas. So, you know, I stand by my 6.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We were treated to another tag match next. That was the Steiner brothers against Doom. This one went 15 minutes and 32 seconds. Doom, accompanied by Woman.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was their first pay-per-view match, I think.
Right.
At this point, Scott Steiner was also very new to WCW.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just starting to establish himself. Really bad promo before this match from Scott Steiner.
Yeah, it took him a
Because-
while to develop the Big Papa Pump gimmick and start cutting good promos.
But the thing is, I think the difference, because he's always been a bit of a rambling person that kind of goes off and you don't really know where he's going with what he's saying. But eventually he was doing that, but with so much conviction.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
that it didn't matter. Whereas he wasn't there yet. You couldn't see the blind confidence in his eyes
Mm.
that he later developed. But yeah, at this point in time, I WCW was really trying with a lot of the tag teams being these big heavyweight teams, and the matches were rarely as good as you would think they would be on paper as a fan.
Yeah.
And I think if you'd have said to me, "Oh, Steiner's against Doom," I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm all over that. That's going to be right up my wagon." But it was good, but it was for me just good.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
It was decent. It was formulaic. You could see where it was going. I didn't expect Doom to go over. I did like the finish with the weapon going underneath the mask. I thought that was
Yeah.
really cool. But yeah, it was fine. It was better than everything on this show so far.
Yeah.
I couldn't give this any less than a 6.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I gave it a 6 myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked Doom. The story with Woman, manipulating the Steiners and then bringing in Doom was good. I almost feel because it was Doom's first pay-per-view match, they had to go over.
Yeah, that's fair.
It kind of kills them dead if they just get beaten their first outing. But yeah, this was good. I've seen matches with these two teams after this point that were better, but that's to be expected.
Yeah.
But yeah, a 6 I think is fair.
Yeah.
So next was the United States Championship match, and this was Lex Luger against Brian Pillman, and this went 16 minutes and 49 seconds. I thought this was really good. What do you reckon?
I thought this was the best match on the show. Good, fast-paced action. I think Luger in this era was actually quite underrated. I enjoyed Luger's stuff, certainly when he was opposing the Four Horsemen. And then they turned him villain, and yeah, this match against Pillman I thought was really good. I think it was Pillman's first major singles match on pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think so. I can't recall one before this
No,
in terms
I
of a
think,
big showcase match.
I think Pillman looked a bit nervous, and he repeated a lot of his moves, like the hip toss, drop kick, arm drag sequence. He must have done that at least 3 times, probably 4 times in this match.
Yeah.
But yeah, a good finish and sequence, and I actually enjoyed this match.
Yeah. I think like I say, Pillman was great. I'd agree with what you say. He repeated a few things, but this is clearly, like I say, his first sort of real showcase. Luger 100%. He gets such a bad rap for his work,
Yeah.
and I think that's unfair because, like you say, at this period of time, especially, he was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was really, really good. And I think that he gets an unnecessary and unfair criticism.
I totally agree. I even enjoyed Made in the USA Lex Luger. I enjoyed
Same.
Wolfpack Luger. I enjoyed when in sort of late 99, early 2000, the Total Package presentation, which is what the masterpiece Chris Masters tried to replicate. You know,
Don't forget the obviously that's kind of leaning on what they did as the narcissist.
Yeah.
When he was first brought in to WWE or WWF.
Yeah, totally.
Which is basically, let's not forget about the reflection of perfection, Mark Jindrak, still in that gimmick as well. But I liked Luger. I always was a fan of Luger. And I think, he gets an unfair criticism, and he's one of those people that could go when it was required. And I mean, the night he beat Hogan for the title on WCW,
that's huge.
The pop.
Yeah.
People always talk about Goldberg winning the title. That reaction was immense.
Mm-hmm.
It got him up for the torture rack. Amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and Hogan tapped straight away as soon as he got on the rack, and that was huge. A big boost for Luger.
Yeah, and I feel almost like they didn't fully take advantage of that momentum. And obviously with the WWF, the SummerSlam match with Yoko killed Luger.
Oh yeah,
because the fact that he didn't win the title but still celebrated in the ring with balloons and confetti,
it made him look so stupid.
Yeah, it was ridiculous, and that killed Luger, who was never going to recover.
Mm-hmm.
It was either pull the trigger that night, or it wasn't going to work.
Yeah,
and they bottled it. But yeah, I've always been a fan of Luger, and I was a fan of this match. I thought it was really good. I like the diving sunset flip off the top rope. I always think that looks cool when done well. I gave this a high 7. Very nearly equal to an 8 for me.
I'm in the exact same boat, high 7 all the way.
Oh, look at us agreeing again. We're going to get told off for not having enough differing opinions.
I think we are.
Okay. Number 7 on this show, match number 7, the Road Warriors, Animal and Hawk, against the Skyscraper team of Dan Spivey and Sid Vicious. So 11 minutes and 39 seconds. This was all right.
Okay.
It had its moments for me. Yeah. Hawk with a monkey flip. Love that. Animal hit a great drop kick in this.
Yeah.
Sid doing a nip up out of a head scissors. Amazing. Never was a particular fan of Dan Spivey. It was an okay match. Didn't much like the finish, but yeah, it was decent, I thought.
Yeah, it was a fun, hard-hitting brawl. Very awkward in places, like when Hawk no-sold Sid at the start. I just don't think Sid was expecting it, and that it kind of threw him off for that next sequence. The crowd were hot for it. The crowd was even in late 80s, after their heyday in the AWA and when they came into the NWA, the crowd was still so hot for the Road Warriors.
Road Warrior pop, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And they took that into the WWF a little later, obviously. But I I was conflicted here, but I went with a 6 for this match.
Okay, I went with a 5.
Okay.
I didn't think it quite got into a 6 territory. Like I say, a little bit awkward. I always found with the Road Warriors, like I kind of alluded to earlier, that when the Road Warriors were in matches against other big man teams, they no-sold a lot.
Yeah.
Because they don't want any other big man team taking their spot as the big man team.
Yeah.
And
But
actually, you
that was their
find,
gimmick. The no sell.
yeah, yeah, of course. But actually, when you watch them against teams like the Midnight Express, they have no problem selling for them because they're not threatened by them.
Yeah.
Because their spot is not, going to be threatened by the Midnight Express because they're two completely different teams. So they wouldn't, they wouldn't have any issues sort of selling for the Midnight Express, because they knew full well that when the time came, the Midnights would sell their ass off for the Road Warriors. So
Yeah, very true.
and they looked great by the end of it. So yeah, this got a 5 from me. Yeah, it didn't get more than that, unfortunately. But it does bring us to our main event of the evening.
Indeed.
So this main event was a right. It's Flair and Sting teaming up against the Great Muta and Terry Funk, with Bruno Sammartino as the ref. And this was the stupid name they gave it? The Thunderdome cage.
Indeed. Yeah, they were capitalizing on the Mad Max popularity. Those
That's
films. And it had so many bells and whistles, didn't it? The only way you could lose is for the opposing manager to throw in the towel.
Yeah, so it was Ole Anderson in the corner of Sting and Flair, with Gary Hart in the corner of Funk and Muta.
Indeed. And when you look at all of the names we just listed, absolute Hall of Fame cast. When you look at, Sting, Flair, Muta, Funk, Sammartino, Gary Hart, Ole Anderson, even Jim Ross and Bob Caudle on commentary.
I'll
What a
get to
cast!
that.
What a cast of characters!
Yeah, but it was too many. It was too gimmicked.
Yeah.
If you'd have given me, I mean, I was a little bit tag matched out by this point.
Yeah, totally.
But if you'd have given me Flair and Sting against Muta and Funk, happy days. Just tag match. Woo. But this was, I just didn't enjoy it. And the whole thing was hyped around it being an electrified cage, and yet no one got electrified. And then there was the fire.
Yeah.
And Muta putting it out with the green mist, amazing.
That's what this match is remembered for, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's an epic moment. That's badass Muta. That's just great.
Yeah, totally.
Muta was, in my opinion, he was around this time and forward a little bit, was destined to be a massive babyface.
Yeah.
But we never got that.
No, I think that's because management didn't buy the fact that, or the idea that the US crowd would get behind a foreign babyface.
But the thing is, they already were by the time he left.
Yeah.
The story that I had heard is that Gary Hart was the one who stopped it happening because he knew that if that happened, he'd lose his kind of meal ticket.
Okay.
That's kind of what I had heard through various, historical recountings of the situation. But I guess we'll never know. But Muta left for Japan shortly after they did the Starcade with the round robin.
Yeah.
And he lost all 3 of his matches.
Yeah. Oh, that was embarrassing.
And then he just left about a month later. And then any time he came back after that, it was never the same. He never managed to capture that magic in WCW again. Any time he'd sort of come back for a bit.
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah, so you can only win when your corner man throws in the towel, which is an interesting stipulation, I guess. Yeah, no one got electrified. I've got some notes here. The sort of Tarzan swinging on the cage was interesting.
I wrote in my notes, wrestling needs more Tarzan ropes.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw the Tarzan rope and the swinging on that, I got
This.
Pirate Paul Burchill memories from his entrance.
Oh, yeah.
Which was
We could do this at the drill house.
We totally could do this at
The drill house is perfectly equipped for Tarzan ropes.
Okay, let me write this down. Let's make this happen.
I'm fairly sure you know who I want to see swinging on a Tarzan rope.
Well, Hex, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
Hollywood Hex Hogan, baby.
Imagine the pop.
Yeah,
That'll get numbers on Fight TV. Book it, Alec.
that's it. Make sure you get your Hexamania t-shirts available at the next show. That's not a joke. The Tarzan swings are funny. Sting sort of doing the big dive off the side of the cage into the ring was cool.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to bring things back to Mr. Jim Ross.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Jim Ross has made me laugh endlessly in some of these shows. And
I'm going to stop you right there. I hope we've got the same caption.
no, you know what? I'm going to let you take this one. Go on.
The caption I've got is, his forehead is protruding.
That's not what I've got. But that's amazing.
It was when Sting had funk and his head. He was pushing his head through the cage.
Yeah. I know the bit. Okay, so now this is there's something in this as a potential show title.
Mm-hmm.
So Muta is up by the top of the cage. And so initially we were led to believe the whole cage was electrified.
Yeah.
And then we started to say that the top part where it kind of came inwards was electrified.
Right. The bit that no one ever came close to touching.
Right. Apart from one bit where Muta gets close to touching that bit. And JR, and this is not the exact wording, I'm sure, but along the lines of Muta needs to be careful up by that part of the cage, or he's going to become a fried wonton.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. And wontons, I might add, are Chinese, not Japanese.
Yeah.
But yeah, he needs to be careful he doesn't become a fried wonton.
Well, fried wonton, subtitle of the episode.
Yeah, episode 6. No, episode 7. I can't even remember what number we're on.
We're on episode 7.
Episode 7. Fried wonton.
Fried wonton. Ridiculous.
Yeah, well done, JR. I gave. Go on.
No, go on. You finished. You tell me your score, and then I've got a story to tell you.
Okay, so I gave this match a 6, and it was barely a 6.
I went with a 7. I thought it was a good, wild tag team match, which degenerated quickly.
Yeah, I just think it had too much going on that it didn't need. It could have been just a wild tag match. It didn't need all the other stuff.
You're saying it didn't need the Tarzan ropes?
I mean, I think there could have been a way to only include the Tarzan ropes out of all the other stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised at some point if we get Jungle Boy with a Tarzan rope at some point.
100%.
Because there'll be a night when Tony Khan no doubt watches this event back for ideas, and that's what he stumbles on.
He's swinging on the Tarzan rope. They're presenting Jungle Boy as just Jack Perry now, so I think they're trying to move away from that part of his presentation, unfortunately.
Yeah, he's not been the same since he lost the big lizard.
No, indeed. He needs Luchasaurus back with him.
Yeah. I just don't see Jungle Boy as a top guy.
I think he will be the AEW World Champion someday, but it will take another 5 years or so.
Don't be silly.
Oh, I'm not being silly. I totally mean it. I think Darby Allin will be World Champion before Jungle Boy.
I could see Darby Allin winning it. I would hope that that Jungle Boy, I mean, he'd have to go a long way to make me approve of that. I'm not a fan.
You got to remember how young he is and how he can still adapt and change his character.
Yeah. No, I'm willing to give him a chance to prove me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, it could happen. It could happen. Stranger things have happened in wrestling. But yeah, I think he's a long way off yet. Go on, you were going to tell me a story.
I don't feel comfortable saying it now. It paints someone in a bad light who, unfortunately, is no longer with us. So I'll tell you that story privately.
Okay. And on that note,
sorry to get your hopes up, ladies and gents. If you want to know the story, come to me privately.
Okay. And on that note, I was going to try and say, okay, I will cover that by telling a story of my own.
Go on.
And then the first one that came to mind was wildly inappropriate. So we're going to leave that there and disappoint everyone by not telling either of those stories.
Never mind.
However, never mind. We'll maybe work on it.
I don't think anyone will be disappointed with this.
Yeah, I think it's been a good episode.
Yeah.
I think it's been a good episode. The conversation has been wide ranging. We've had some great JR quotes. What more could you want, right?
Yeah. We've had the dynamic dudes, baby.
They were something. Okay, so the show on the whole, if we're calculating our scores, gives this an overall rating of a 5.2.
Okay.
I think that's pretty fair. That doesn't quite make it the worst show we've done, but it's definitely nowhere near the best.
It's no Beach Blast 92.
It's not. Was there anything? Obviously, I think I know the answer. Was there anything on this show that you thought belonged on a hidden gem list?
The only thing that even came close was Pillman and Luger, but not even that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. It was one of those things that it was a really good match in a pretty average show.
I think because, like you said, it was a very tag team heavy show. I was just glad to see a singles match with stakes.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the point I was leading to. I think that it stands out so much because A, the rest of the show, there's a lot of tag matches, and B, there wasn't anything else that was really good.
Yeah.
So I think it made it appear maybe better than it was. I think plonk this on another show, a different lineup, and it doesn't stand out as much. So yeah, I wouldn't put anything from this show on our hidden gem list, but if you want something to watch from this show, I'd say go back and check out Luger and Pillman. Definitely worth a watch. And the main event is worth a watch just for shits and giggles, really.
Indeed.
More than anything. Interesting show, but not one that I'll be necessarily in a massive hurry to go back and look at. So that brings us, however, to drawing our show for next week.
My favourite part of the week.
I know, you love this bit. You love this bit. Let me just get my cheeky little list up here.
I'm not bullshitting either. I genuinely look forward to this part of the week every week.
I know you do. Okay, so I'm just loading everything up here. So let's have a look. We are. Oh, we're going a bit later.
Okay.
So number 403.
Oh, right. So let's maybe mid 2010s.
Okay, so slightly later than that,
Right.
but not by a long shot. The 16th of September, 2012.
Okay. 2012. So, it would be a WWE event, obviously.
Just by time frame, yeah, it's going to be WWE, and it is Night of Champions.
Night of Champions 2012. Okay.
Can you remember anything from this show?
I ain't got a Scooby-Doo, mate. I've got nothing.
So I've got nothing. I can't recall anything that happened.
Nope.
I would expect, just on the time frame, that there's probably some Dolph and some Kofi.
Yeah.
And some Cody on there, maybe.
Oh yeah,
Mysterio, that kind of range of mid card. You may be looking at, Orton on top, maybe. I can't remember.
CM Punk.
Yeah. So there's some scope for some good stuff. And the fact that we don't remember anything from this show, because I think even around this time, even the main events, you can't even remember them. There's just so many shows. I mean, you remember WrestleMania and things like that, and maybe some of the SummerSlam maybe and things. But I mean, 2012, there just seemed to be so many pay-per-views, and I can't remember what happened on most of them around this few year period. Really, from sort of, I don't know, a 5-year period from like 2009 maybe. I think there's so many pay-per-views. It felt like there was one every like 2 or 3 weeks.
Exactly, and they just blur together.
Yeah. But it'll be interesting. I'll go in blind as usual and check this show out. So it's WWE Night of Champions 2012 is our show for next week.
Great stuff.
Are you
Looking forward to
excited
watching
for that
that.
one? Yeah.
Yeah. Just because I cannot remember any of the show.
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes it interesting for me. If you can't remember anything at all, then all the better, right? Because everything's going to be surprising. There might be some really good stuff on there that we just don't remember.
Yeah. Here's hoping for another hidden gem. We need one. We've had one in 7 episodes.
Yeah, I think we are due one. We are definitely due one. Did you have any ideas in mind for our TV match this week?
I've got one. Unless you've got one.
I mean, I've got a few that have been suggested, but I'd certainly like to hear what you've got in mind.
Okay. Here's what I've got. This is courtesy of Chris Moller. Edge versus Eddie Guerrero. It's a no DQ match from an episode of SmackDown, September 26th, 2002.
September 26th, 2002. Okay. Well, my suggestion was a little bit closer in time frame to the pay-per-view that we're going to watch.
Okay.
So I think maybe we'll come back to that for next week, maybe.
Perfect.
So, okay, Edge versus Eddie Guerrero, September 26th, 2002 is our TV match that we're going to check out this week alongside Night of Champions 2012. That pretty much wraps up this week's show. Just a couple of quick plugs as usual. We have some DOA coming up in the next few weeks, as it's always coming up in the next few weeks, though, right? So our next show, Bury St Edmunds, Go for Glory, at the Newbury Community Centre. That is the 24th of June. We also feature at It's All Kicking Off, which is the big wrestling and music and football fun day at Marchtown Football Club on July the 1st, and that is It's just £5 to get in. Kids go free. And also, we come back to Ipswich. We recently returned to Ipswich at Inspire Suffolk with a fantastic crowd. Really, really good show. And we're back there for Suffolk Slam on July 29th. And taking us through the summer, concluding on August the 12th with Peter Nixon's Beach Ball Mania 5 in Great Yarmouth at the Drill House.
Always so much fun, Beach Ball Mania. It's one of my favourite shows of the year, every year.
Yeah, and I need to have a conversation with you about that, because I can guarantee you the plans are in place to go bigger and better than we've ever done it with Beach Ball Mania this year. So you can look forward to that. And yeah, we need to have that chat, as it's very much your show. So I want to run these things by you, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. As always, check out DOA on Fight TV. All of our previous shows post lockdowns are available on there to check out free of charge. We have coming up this week, finally, after one of the worst, one of the longest editing sessions of a show where the footage, quite frankly, for some reason, managed to film in like 30-second clips. So it was the worst show ever to be edited by anyone ever, but it has now been completed. And show 87 Armbar is fine TV this week.
Great stuff.
Which was a really good show. Some fantastic matches on there. That was main evented by Brad O'Brien against Danny Darko in a fantastic match. AJ Boogie against Chris Tyler, to name just a few. That match comes to Fight TV this week.
And Rex Wild against Ty Hazard.
Yes.
Which, I mean, hell of a match. Probably the best match I've seen Rex Wild have. It absolutely blew me away.
Yeah, really, really, really good stuff. So do make sure you check that show out. I'll be closely followed by Armageddon 19 and, of course, the Eurovision Slam contest from Ipswich this past week. So they will be coming in thick and fast on Fight TV over the next few weeks. Also, check out Hidden Gem Hunters on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, that concludes this week's show. Any parting message from yourself, Mr. Nixon?
Please engage with us on social media. Let's hear your suggestions for TV matches, and let us know your thoughts on the shows that we're reviewing as well. I'd be interested to see if the shows that we've reviewed so far, any matches have stood out to you, the viewer, as to be hidden gems.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we're getting messages from people that are listening, and they're telling us that they're listening, they're enjoying and things, but we really want to engage and get that conversation going online on our various social media platforms. Let's chat about these shows. Let us know what you thought of them. Let us know if you thought our scores were wrong. Let us know how much you love the Sultan, whatever the case may be. Yeah, man. Rest in peace. Yeah, I might take a break right now and go and watch myself some Viscera classics.
You do,
yeah. Do engage with us on social media, and we will, of course, be back with you next week for Night of Champions 2012, and also Edge against Eddie Guerrero from 2002.